Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Then check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something to inspire you. That's dealtohealteas.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.com. Again, that's dealtohealteas.com. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you guys listen, like, subscribe, and share our podcast on all of your social media platforms, as well as make sure you guys go to and check out our new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, because now we have more than one podcast, and we're looking forward to bringing you more amazing podcasts in the future. So you can go to Deal to Heal Podcasting Network on YouTube, where you can find the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, which you're listening to now, as well as our sister podcast, which is the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure you guys go there in order to check that out. So make sure you guys, again, check us out on your make sure you guys are checking us out on your podcast listening platforms, as well as our new channel on YouTube. Make sure you guys are checking us out. Also, our product of the week, as you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and the way we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase. So our product of the week is our Deal, Heal, Fulfill tea, which says on it, the deal with your pain, deal with the problem, heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. And that is the tea for those who are not watching, but you're listening. It is a black t-shirt with the words deal, heal, and fulfill in color. And so you guys can go to Deal to Heal Teas, Deal the number 2 healteas.com in order to get your product of the week, which is our Deal to Heal motto t-shirt, which is available again at Deal to Heal teas.com. Yep. And so those are then, and also, and this is fresh off the presses. We got the little arm wristbands in the different colors, the same as the shirt. That is now available. I haven't even put it up on the website yet. That's how fresh it is off the press. So make sure you guys, again, go to Deal the number 2 Heal tees.com in order to get your t-shirt and get your wristbands, right? So make sure you guys check that out. So we're gonna jump right in it today, just like any other day. We are blessed with the guest, Miss. Now I was gonna say it right, and now I'm just gonna automatically say it wrong because oh, let me see if I said it right. Angelica, did I say it right? I think
Yes, that is correct.
okay, cool.
Yes,
Because
that's
I
correct.
was it was right on my tongue. I was going to say it right, and then my mind was like, no, say something else. So,
I knew it. It's okay. It's okay.
but first of all, let me say thank you for being on because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else. But you're here with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. So we're gonna jump right in. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners. Tell us a little about who you are and what it is that you do.
Yes. Well, I just want to again say thank you so much for the opportunity to share space on your platform. You have such a beautiful platform, especially with healing, which is a big topic right now.
Mhm.
But however, my name is Angelica X. I am a lifestyle wellness coach. I'm also a podcast host of Healing with Angelica. Healing with Angelica has been on a air for over 2.5 years. I'm also a follower of the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam. And I do a lot of work with young women to help them reconnect with self and also reconnect with God. Because I also learned as being on my journey of healing, understanding myself and understanding who I came from, which was my creator, helped me navigate life and actually help me navigate to heal properly, right?
Mhm.
So within all that, I'm also your sister. So yeah.
Good. I love it. I love it. And I am in the Chicagoland area, so I'm very familiar with the minister and the Nation of Islam. So welcome for to be on the platform. Um, so we, I want to jump right in it, and I want to go back a little bit, right? Because I always say there's always a story and a version of us before we became the person that we are today,
Mhm.
right? And for those of us who spend our lives pouring into other people and uplifting and inspiring other people, there's generally a story behind it of how we came to the space, right? Through our own trials and tribulations. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about who you were prior, like the prior you, and what was that initial incident that happened that kind of changed your life and then gave you the mind to become this version of yourself and then pour into other people.
Ooh, wow. Let's go to the root, right? Where did
Yeah.
everything begin?
Right.
Well, I can say that, it really like the person that I was before now is definitely a big big transition.
Mhm.
I can say like the person I was very lost. Wasn't Didn't really know my purpose in life. Really didn't know what it is that I truly wanted to do. My mind was set up just being just the, regular corporate woman working at 9 to 5 job. Like that was really it, possibly becoming a boss at a job, but not nothing really fulfilling or not nothing too fulfilling that it was helpful to others. However, in 2020, I would say that year, which was also the pandemic,
Mhm.
it really, really changed my life forever. I can say just within that time frame, it actually started, I want to say in 2000 and I'll say 2019. I went through a bad breakup, very bad, to where it was just like I was not mentally there. Um, and then I remember I prayed to Allah God. I was like, I feel like I need to get closer to you, God. Like I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm doing. But that breakup really did a lot to me mentally, to where I would say like a few weeks after I prayed to God, I ended up getting connected with a friend who actually told me about was telling about the Nation of Islam. And um, after that point, I became interested in that. I felt like it was just something that I need to be a part of. However, it did take me some time to actually
Mhm.
accept that this is where I wanted to be, right?
Yeah.
But within that time frame of meeting that friend who actually helped me get closer to God in my way, um, I ended up going through a situation where I ended up getting pregnant. And within that pregnancy, I went through a lot of mental and physical changes that really did a number on me. And within that time, I also was going through, I want to say, post traumatic stress disorder,
Mhm.
just with the prior situation years ago, back in 2016. I did lose a son. I had a stillborn. I was 9 months when that happened. So I actually had to go through the whole labor process and everything. And I guess when I got pregnant, I did not know that I was still experiencing pain from losing my son those years back. So it wasn't until I had to go through the process of being pregnant, the things I went through with being pregnant, with just um, me also trying to reconnect with God in my way. Once I met my friend, it helped me connect with God. And then when I got pregnant, and also now dealing with just the stress of thinking and worrying that something may happen to this baby and
Mhm.
something may happen to me. And then the pandemic made it even worse, right? It was just like so much going on at that time, to where I couldn't rely on no one but God. Because there was a point in time in my pregnancy that I really thought I was going to die. It was a point in time where um, I couldn't sleep, and I was scared. I was terrified to sleep because I felt like if I was to sleep, I wasn't going to wake up. But I remember I felt like I had to surrender. I was so tired. I surrendered to God. I'm like, listen, God, hey, if I die in my sleep, I just pray that you just take care of me. And I just surrendered. And after I surrendered, in that moment, like, I had the best sleep that night. And
Mhm.
then going forward, I was sleeping. And I was like, wow, like that really made me think more so of just how, me reconnecting with myself and God is so important, and how me just building up my faith and confidence back in Him. Like I said, even before I got onto this journey, I really didn't have a connection with God. And I was just thinking about being in the corporate world and stuff like that. So I ended up became fostered into this newfound light of just being love and trusting God, to where it got to a point where after I had my son now, um, I ended up having a health issue. So when I say, brother, I was going through the most in 2020, from physically, psychologically, actually giving birth, having my son during a pandemic, and then afterwards being diagnosed with a thyroid issue. I had hyperthyroid issue going on. I was losing a tremendous amount of weight. So I felt like God was just like boom, 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 like throwing all these trials at me, to where I feel like, okay, He was testing me. He was testing me big time. So it wasn't until I told myself that I didn't want to do conventional medicine. I was seeing what was going on. I was seeing how people were being treated during the pandemic, and also my experience that I had when I lost my son. I had a traumatic experience. Well, I didn't say it. I want to say a traumatic experience going through the birthing process. However, just me not wanting to be in an atmosphere of dealing with doctors and nurses who just wanted to throw me
Mhm.
medicine all the time. So I had to trust myself and trust God enough to know that I can heal myself. So it took a lot of evaluation, me understanding what the problem was, what was going on with me. And even on top of that, brother, even after I got the diagnosis of my thyroid issue, right after I left the hospital, I had COVID pneumonia right afterwards. So it was just
Wow.
so much. Like my body was trying to heal from having a baby, thyroid, COVID, boom. At a point I lost faith again. But I'm like, okay, no, I can heal. I can heal. I know I can heal. So it wasn't until I ended up telling myself that I know I can heal. I started to because again, I didn't want to take conventional medicine. I wanted to do it myself. I ended up just doing some more research. I was looking at Queen Afua books, seeing how she was doing her healing. I remember in her book she talked about how she had like this. She had asthma, I think real bad asthma going on, where she healed herself from that by changing her diet, right? So, and I also fed on How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2 by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, feeding off these books. And I'm like, you know what? I had to make a change. So, from me reading and studying, looking at all these books, and also just I was getting into meditation. I was looking at Joe Dispenza and like just looking at all these things. Like, wow, I know I can heal, right? I can do this. Look at everybody else. Look what they've done to heal. And it was within me changing my diet. I changed my diet. I started doing more self-care. I started going out in nature. And I also wound up addressing issues of the past, issues that I didn't know that was also contributing to my well-being. So when I was taking that time to heal and addressing those issues, those trauma, those daddy issues, I
Mhm.
went through and was going through. Um, I can definitely say within that time, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was 4 months when I started my healing journey after my thyroid issue, and I got my numbers back, and it was in Ramadan of that year, Ramadan of 2020. I think Ramadan of 2021, because I had just had my son in December, so I think it was like in April. Within that 4 months time, I got my thyroid numbers back, and it's like, oh my gosh, your numbers are normal. Like I said, oh my gosh, I did it. Like I did it all by myself, just by changing my mindset and eating different foods and just changing a lot about myself. Like I self-corrected my thyroid issue. So I now, and I keep the same diet now, I no longer have a thyroid issue. So from that point, when I seen that I can heal and I did it by myself, that sparked up the idea of healing with Angelica. Because also, as I was healing, I also was looking at other people on their healing journey. Like I said, looking at Queen Afua's book, listening to Joe Dispenza and what he went through and how he was able to reprogram his mind in order to be able to walk again. After looking at all these stories, I'm like, wow, healing is a journey, but you should not have to heal alone. So that's where Healing with Angelica uh, came from, and from there, it's been history, because now I feel like, oh my God, I know what my purpose is, right? I feel like I have more of a real reason to be here, because we all need someone to help us on this journey. And my story, I believe, if I can help people with my story, even just with what I went through in my pregnancy, losing a son and having to deal with past trauma from relationships, abuse, and not having my father around, if I can be that light to help people heal through my podcast and also allowing other people to come on there to share their story, then I know I can be able to foster healing in the community. So yeah, that was a lot, but yeah.
Right, right. No, no, it's good. Excuse me. It's good because I love to hear the journey, right? Because of course we're all on our journey. You know, some of us are further ahead than others. But it's because we started the journey first of all and took in the initiative. We're like, all right, I'm gonna go through this, and not only go through it, but I'm gonna go through it successfully. That even while we're journeying, we can reach back to those who may be, 3, 4, 5 steps behind us and help them on their own journey, right? And so that's why I always love to hear the backstory. And you mentioned you mentioned daddy issues, um, and which kind of sparked just touched me a little bit because that's how even all of this for me kind of started, was because I started a Instagram page called Friends of Fatherless Daughters and was talking about fatherless daughters and being a resource and even becoming a fatherless daughter advocate. which sparked all that I'm doing now, right? And so just thinking about that, daddy issues, past trauma, the trauma that you had from, not even realizing that it was trauma because I guess it had laid dormant so long before you had your second child, then it all came back, right? So just thinking about that and thinking about those unresolved traumas or even those unrecognized traumas that we deal with or don't even know that we're carrying, now that you're kind of on the other side of it and teaching other young ladies how to get there when they are come to you and have their own traumas that you're trying to help them with. First of all, excuse me, how relevant do you think that dealing with our past traumas affects our healing today? And then what are some of the things that you kind of teach the young ladies to be able to do to help them on their journey, as well as the same tools that I would say that you use to kind of help yourself?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it's definitely relevant. It's very, very relevant. I can say that a lot of the behavior that we're seeing today, I believe, comes from past situations, past things that people have been through, or even this false narrative that people have been put on them from other people, or an experience that they may have went through. So it's not until you, for one, acknowledge, and that's what it was with me. I acknowledged that, wow, okay, I have to face this, and I had to face this on my own by recognizing and acknowledging that, okay, because the reason why I had to go back and think about my relationship with my father was because I mentioned at the beginning, it wasn't when I had that heartbreak that led me to calling out for God in such a I want to say humbling way, reaching out to him, praying to God, to where he allowed someone to come into my life to bring me closer to him. I had to realize, like, okay, because I dealt with certain type of relationship from the time I was in abusive relationships from the time I was 14 years old to the time I was 24. So 10 years of abusive relationships, and didn't understand why. Physically abusive, mentally abusive, all of that. So I also realized, from me now taking accountability of me having these relationships, I had to go back and peel the layers of the situations and what happened. What was I doing? Taking accountability again of what was it that I was doing, or what happened within that time frame. Because what will end up happening is that once you start taking accountability and responsibility of your healing, you're now able to go back and really face yourself and be able to admit what it is that you did, what you've done to, allow things to happen the way it happened, right? So with me being able to take accountability and be like, wow, I believe that it all started, when I was, you know, 13 years old. Minding you, my abusive relationship started when I was 14. I was 13 years old. My biological father came back in my life, and he left again. And that really upset me to where I ended up putting up a wall with all men, not knowing, but putting up a wall to where I'm never going to get too close to a man again. I would never give a man my all, right? Completely.
Mhm.
So because of that, I'm like, okay, wow, that's why all my relationships went the same way. Because as I was saying again, you end up finding the cycle. You end up seeing the repeating cycles, because what we really are seeing is just people just repeating the same behaviors, but with different faces, right? And once we recognize these behaviors, again, accountability and acknowledging it, then we're able to really step into our healing. So I believe that being able to address the past is necessary, because because you have to know and have clarity as far as what's going on now. And a lot of us don't have clarity, and a lot of us don't know that we need to heal. But it's not until you look back and see the things that you've done or seen the things that you've been through that you can now be like, wow, okay, I this is probably why I act the way I act, because I went through this, I went through that, or when I was younger, my father wasn't there and my mother used to call me all these names, right? So
Yeah.
that's why it goes back to me saying, us having these false narratives of who we think we are when that's not really our true nature, right? So yeah, I definitely believe it plays a big part, and I definitely believe if our women would just start taking a look at their self. It makes me think about that. I talked about this in my show. I think it was yesterday. The Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Start with the woman in the mirror. It just really take accountability and accept what it is that you have to say, so you can start healing.
Yeah, yeah, and you said some key things. One of them that I definitely want to touch on, because I believe is the beginning. Even when I'm working with people, as far as starting their healing journey, it definitely starts with acknowledgement, right? To be able to say, okay, I'm hurting in this area, or I'm feeling some type of way in this area. Because if we don't acknowledge it, then we can't do nothing about it, because we don't even know what we're looking for. We can't look for healing in a certain area without acknowledging what area that is. Whether it's in relationships, whether it's past traumas because of our parents, or parent trauma, whether it's daddy issues or mama issues, because we definitely have mama issues too. Some of us,
Yes.
and so we definitely acknowledgement plays the first role, as far as from I believe it's the first role. But then you also went a little deeper with accountability, and I think that it's big nowadays, right? Because a lot of us don't want to take accountability, and a lot of times, on platforms they put a lot of it on the women, like, oh, women don't want to take accountability. But I think it's all of us. I think we all have a role to play in everything, especially in our own lives. And even you mentioned about taking that accountability with yourself and saying, okay, what part did I play in these relationships? And I always say, everything that you do, the only one you can control is yourself. And so, since the only one you can control is yourself, you got to look at the part that you play in everything. No, maybe you weren't the abuser, but maybe you have to look into why you keep choosing abusive people. You know what I'm saying? So that's where that accountability come from, that personal accountability, to really look at, okay, what part did I play in my own hurt? You know what I mean? And it's because it's not always someone else's fault. Sometimes there's some things that I've done, or some situations I put myself in. Then I can say, okay, I got to correct my part of it. And if I can correct my part of it, a lot of times that automatically begins to clear up the things that we've done, or the things that's happened to us, right? And so, even with that, one of the things that you said, you mentioned about being able to heal yourself, right? And then you also mentioned about the self accountability, and on this journey that I'm on, and I'm sure you're on too, where this personal journey of self development, and just beginning to really learn yourself and learn the issues that you may have, to get to that point where you're stepping into self improvement, right? Stepping into the places with the personal development, that you're doing the things to make yourself a better person, And so, knowing your journey and where you were, and then going through that process of accountability, and realizing the part that you played in all of these different areas in your life, how important was it, and is it, for you to even acknowledge the self-improvement, the areas that need self-improvement? But not only did they need it, but okay, now what am I going to do about it? Because it's one thing, again, we start with acknowledging it, but once we acknowledge it, then we're faced with the question of, now what you're going to do about it. What steps do you need to take? What plans did you need to put in place to help you to overcome and help you to become a better person? So on your own journey of again, taking that accountability, and looking at the part that you played in these different scenarios in your life, how important was that, coming to the realization of self-improvement and self-development, and how important do you believe it is for us to push ourselves in those areas in order to become better people?
That's a beautiful question. It's absolutely vital. I believe it's vital when it comes to wanting to help and aiding in our community. Everything starts with self first, then others, right? Self preservation. Because, I know we hear it a lot. We can't pour into people's cup unless we pour into our own, right? Or unless we got to have some of our own, right? Even
Mhm.
takes me back to, the whole analogy of the airplane situation. You put your mask on first, right? So as I've been on this journey of healing, I truly believe healing is a journey of self improvement. We want to continue to grow, we want to continue to evolve. And when you are not in the work of self improvement, you no longer, I really feel like you really nullify your existence because we have to continue to grow. Once you become stagnant, once you're not growing anymore, you end up succumbing. You end up not being alive anymore. You don't no longer know your purpose. You're not doing what it is that God wants you to do, right? I believe God put us on this earth for a particular reason. We all have a particular purpose. So when we're not fulfilling that and we're not involved in the work of self improvement, then again, I believe we nullify our existence to even be on this beautiful earth. So it really, really just go back to just wanting to be and do better, right? And I can honestly say, just like it's actually it's hard. It's not easy. It's
Mhm.
not easy to admit that, oh, I have this addiction or I have this problem or I have this issue, especially when we believe that, someone has wronged us, right? And I think that's one thing too, when we want to heal, and we are taking accountability, some of the issues and some of the things that we've allowed happen to us, or people that's been involved in our hurt and pain, we want to blame them completely, right? But I say it takes two to tango, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So when we think about that, in order for us to not allow others to control us and have control over our lives when we continue to place blame and not want to do the work of self improvement, we fall into this trap of uh, just staying stagnant, and we won't forgive. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's all about self preservation and self first in others. Because if you're not improving, and if you can't be that light and be that example, and that's something that I learned just being in the Nation of Islam, is that, you just be that example, just be that light, and eventually other people will want to be that light, or you end up attracting people that are wanting your light, even in a positive way, but even if it's
Mhm.
even if it's a negative way for them. Just always be that example by always wanting to improve yourself, right? So self improvement is major for our development just as human beings. So the work of healing for me is, and as we look at the word and define healing, is to restore, is to rebalance, right? You putting things back in homeostasis when we're healing. And when we're healing, knowing that at the end of the day, that again, us being movable people, we're always moving, right? We're doing something, right? If we continue to stay stagnant, which is not in our nature to do,
Mhm.
we are stopping ourselves from that journey of evolving. And evolving has a lot to do with self improvement, right? So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to touch on something that you said that stood out to me. That everything starts with self, right? And then you even mentioned forgiveness a little bit when you were talking. So, and I'll talk about this a little bit later. I've been blessed these last couple of years to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission, right? And so we have virtual workshops every other month. Now we've been doing it, but in one of the workshops, one of the questions that came was, how do we begin to forgive ourselves for things that we've done in the past? And in that moment, God gave me this acronym because I'm a person that loves acronyms. Anybody that know me know I love acronyms. But He gave me an acronym right in the moment of the acronym for self, right, and to be able to start forgiving yourself. And so I even wrote an ebook afterwards called The 4 Steps to Self Forgiveness, and it all centers around the word self as an acronym. So it stands for season of life, emotional state, limited information, and forgiveness by grace, right?
Mm,
And so what I learned even after that, when we're going through these different things, not only does that apply, can we apply that self evaluation to forgiveness, but we really can apply it to almost everything in our lives where we're having trouble, and we start looking at, okay, with this issue that I'm addressing, what season of life was I in when I started to accomplish it, when I started to deal with it, what was my emotional state, that I was dealing with it, was my limited information, because maybe I just didn't have the right information to be able to deal with it correctly, and so now I'm dealing with it wrong, and then taking those into consideration when we get to the alpha with forgiveness by grace, which is really being able to forgive yourself. And whether it's a grudge you hold against yourself for something that you did years ago that you said, man, I should have known better, or even maybe a situation that you're facing now, to be able to say, you know what, I can give myself grace and forgiveness because at that moment I was doing the best that I could, and really being able to acknowledge that. So when you said that everything starts with self, I'm like, it truly does, and if we can stop and just take a second and really think about that, and evaluate each situation with that acronym of self, to be able to take that self accountability of who we were and where we were in the midst of what we were going through, and learning, okay, what part did I play in it? Then we really could be able to start working our way through some of the things that we're going through. So, and that just really, when you was talking about the self, it just brought that back to me. But you also talked about healing, and so of course you are a teacher of healing and being able to heal yourself, but you also wrote an ebook and you have a podcast. So talk to us a little bit, number one, about the importance of healing and why you even took it on as a mission to bring healing to everyone else, and then talk to us about your ebook and also about your podcast, and how even with those two do you begin to even deliver the message of healing.
yes, 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 absolutely. Wow. And I'm gonna have to check out that forgiveness thing you guys got going on. Like it's so important, just like you said. I think self first, but it's I think, and I said this before, and I'm gonna get to your question. I said
Mhm.
this before that most of the time with most of the clients that I work with, um, in the conversations we have, um, most of the time it will be situations to where, oh, they can't forgive this person. But as I really look deep down inside, listening to my clients, is more so they can't forgive their self. It's a
Mhm.
self thing, especially when you start taking accountability of what part you played in that situation. So I love that. So, but yes, yes, yes. So, I have a my podcast, Healing with Angelica. I took the subject of healing because honestly, healing is something that's going to be a part of this journey. There's going to be situations that we are all going to have to overcome. We're going to have to restore balance from, right? Those situations when we're getting upset, someone upsets us and make us mad, right? How do we learn to address our emotions in that time? How do we learn to cope with a loss, right? So within those different perspectives of just situations that can occur in life, it takes healing to really address those issues. And like I said, healing to me is getting back to balance, to restoring, and to really align things back together when things get rocky, when you're sad, mad, or you lose a loved one, right? So with just the journey that I've been through in life, and I'm still on my healing journey. Like I said, healing is a journey. It's not something that's going to be a one day thing. It's going to be things that happen in life where you're going to have to, okay, all right, I got to address this side of me now. What I'm going to do, how I'm going to heal, right? It's a journey. So I believe, just taking on the subject of healing is something that needs to be talked about. And it's also just a part of just life, and something that even our young children need to understand and know. Because I think as well, even us as adults, we've been stuck in this cycle of wanting to continue to deal with trauma. Well, I would say keep trauma, suppressed within us, to where we don't think about healing. Like, you're not your trauma. So now that you know that you're not your trauma, how do you heal from this trauma? How do you heal from this wound, right? We're restoring balance. We're healing that wound, right? So with us understanding that healing is actually the part of life, healing is a part of the journey. I believe it's a beautiful topic for anyone to take up, and something that I wanted to take up just based off just things that I've been through in life, and knowing that if it wasn't for God being the ultimate healer, and also me loving and trusting myself and healing myself from things with faith and with confidence and persistent, actions, um, man, I wouldn't know where I would be. So that's like my testimony. Healing is a part of my testimony, right? So within that, um, doing my podcast, Healing with Angelica, again, I wanted to create a safe space for people to come in to share their healing journey, or even bring in educational content, information for us to know what we can do when we're going through different things with our health, if we're going through things mentally, physically, spiritually, right? Because all those is intertwined with healing holistically, mind, body, and soul, right? So within that, um, and just with, like I said, the journey that I've been through, just with men and being in abusive relationship, and also learning, just being in the Nation of Islam and learning from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is that 75% of the work is with the woman, right? So because the woman has such a duty that she has to fulfill, we have to help in restoring the balance of the woman, particularly for me, the Black woman, right? And with me being able to go on a journey myself, I couldn't think of um, no other name to call this book. For one, is Thrive, a guide for young Black women to reconnect with self and God, which is my ebook, that I created, because it's like, it's not until the woman understand who she is, also understand, how God looks at her and what duty that she has to fulfill, is when we're able to restore balance within the woman, which is so vital when it comes to the work of building a nation and helping to restore balance in just humanity. As we're seeing today, our women are, unfortunately, our women are lost, and we have to be able to restore balance, because our women is who they're the first teachers, right? Our women, they nurse up the children, right? So that's what really encouraged me to really tackle the women, seeing just the journey that I've been through, and also just listening to different stories from my podcast, me being able to be a part of different podcasts, and seeing what it is about the woman that needs to be addressed. So that's where the book, my ebook Thrive, a guide for young Black women to reconnect with self and God, came from. Now, again, my perspective is directed towards the Black woman. However, it's for all women, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm gonna have to get your ebook. I love it. I love it. Angelica, I'm so happy to have you on, right? And I really appreciate you coming on. I want you to have the last word. So I want you to leave us with a word of advice, um, inspiration, however you feel. Something you can leave for our audience, to hold on to with everything that we've discussed in this, in this episode. Just leave us with something that we can take, and hold on to help to get us through our own healing journey, as well as leaving us with your social media handles and also where we can get your ebook and where we can find your podcast. So I'll let you think about that for a second. To my audience, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. And if you like what you've heard and you may have thought about starting your own podcast, then you can get the ebook Start Your Podcast Now, which is an ebook that I wrote because I was constantly being asked, how do you start a podcast? So I wrote the ebook and I made it really simple. Start your podcast now in only 3 simple steps. And you can find it at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, you can find it by ebooksbyejames.com. If you ever thought about having your own podcast, you definitely want to make sure that you check that out. And while you're checking that out, also make sure you guys go and check out my main personal website, which is the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org, where my motto and my mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with the problem, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. So you can go there and find out everything about me, what I have going on. Also, you can also book me to come out as a speaker or a workshop presenter or facilitator for your school or organization. So make sure you guys go there and check that out. Also, make sure you go to ebooksbyejames.com. We talked about the Forgiving Me ebook, which is available there. Forgiving Me, the 4 steps to self-forgiveness is there. Also, as well as the core 4, which is the core 4 values that every daughter should get from her father, which is the book that we talk a lot about on our sister podcast, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. But you can get your copy and you can check out all the ebooks that we have available by going to ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. You also guys can go check out our inspirational t-shirt line at the number 2 healtees.com, deal2healtees.com. We talked earlier about the Deal to Heal t-shirt that we have that's available now. That's our product of this week. But also when you go there, you can get your podcast merch t-shirt, which is our t-shirt with our podcast logo on it. There is one for Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, as well as the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, and our other inspirational teas that can be found again at the number 2 healtees.com. Last but not least, I talked a little bit about it. The last couple of years, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops regarding forgiveness every other month. We talk about forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, what it means to forgive, who is forgiveness really for, all the things surrounding forgiveness. And it is a free virtual workshop. It's absolutely free, but the information is priceless. You want to make sure that you sign up whenever you're listening to this podcast episode. Either one just ended, a workshop just ended, or a workshop is coming up. So you can go to forgivenessmission.com in order to see and sign up and register for the next forgiveness workshop. Or you can go to Eventbrite and look up forgiveness workshop sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission, and you can sign up that way. So definitely make sure you guys go and sign up for the Forgiveness Mission, forgivenessmission.com for the forgiveness workshop. So thank you guys. Angelica, again, I want to say thank you so very much for being on. Thank you for sharing your story and your expertise. I really appreciate you. I want you to have the last word. So the floor is yours.
Yes, yes, yes. Again, Brother Ernest, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to share space with you on your beautiful, beautiful platform. If you guys are watching this platform, came from me. Y'all seen the video from me or me sharing it. Y'all make sure y'all follow my brother. Y'all make sure y'all support my brother. Because listen, us podcasters, we put in a lot of work, okay? So go ahead and support your brother, right? So I do want to just give the social media out before I want my last comment to be the last one. But if you guys are looking for me, you can find me on social media platform. On Facebook, it's Angelica X Musalima. Also, Healing with Angelica on Facebook, Healing with Angelica on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. And also, if you are looking to purchase my ebook, you can directly reach out to me. You can email me or contact me on my Facebook page. Or no, this is better. You can text, and maybe you can put y'all write this number down. You can text Thrive, which is the name of the ebook, Thrive, to 937-313-2466. So if you're interested in the ebook, you can text Thrive. I also have a one-on-one coaching program where I work with individuals one-on-one as a lifestyle wellness coach to help you just be a better person overall, holistically. So I guide people on their healing journey, take them through personalized, actionable steps and plans to get them on a healing journey, get their started, and keep them on their journey, right? So if you are interested in that and want to learn more, you can also text HEAL, HEAL, to the same number, 937-313-2466. And I would love to leave you guys with this. Please, please, please. One day at a time. One day at a time. Life, be lifing like we know it. However, give yourself grace, okay? Do not get caught up in wanting to rush the process, right? You are exactly where God wants you to be right now, even if you don't believe so. Even if you believe that you need to be doing this or doing that, be okay being present and being where you are now. Give yourself grace, give gratitude, and I'm telling you, it will expand your healing journey and make the process easier, right? So one day at a time.
All right, all right. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.